02 Earthgate, 12th May 2021. So in this episode, we will try to understand what exactly tangent vectors are. Tangent vectors happen to be one of the most you know crucial components of differential geometry, of understanding differential geometry, because essentially what happens is, like, a manifold, as in and as of itself, does not allow other functions except for those that are ascribed to the manifold, right? So yes, you do have an interesting group structure, you do have exciting things happening in the manifold itself, but that uh, it's very limited. However, the moment you introduce some sort of a tangent vector, that means you can introduce, like, other variables. As you can see, you can introduce parameters, you can introduce, like, something else, um, in order to define a tangent, a vector, a vector, or a tangent vector or a vector space around the manifold, right? So how is this exactly about vector spaces? We will see in the next episode, but here we will try to understand the intuition and reasoning behind it, right? By looking at some of the key results. Okay. Fine. So what is the differentiable curve? A differentiable curve is a mapping of R in a closed interval into M. So you are taking some taking some manifold M, and then you are mapping it onto the real the real space. Now, now going on to a tangent vector at a point P of M, right? So this is what is interesting. Now consider capital F of P, okay, to be the algebra of functions of class C. So for in the neighborhood of P. So first, as I'm reading through it, it'll sort of seem dry and uninteresting. But later, like, I'll just come back to the definition and, like, the intuition behind it in a bit. Alright. Yeah. So capital F of P is an al- is this basically is an algebra of functions of class C1 in a neighborhood of P. What is class C1? Class C1 means differentiable exactly once. Okay. So now just imagine x of t to be a curve of class C1. So x of t is an element of this f. Okay. So, or yeah, it's not exactly an element, but x of t is related to f. How exactly, we'll see in a bit. Where such that t is between a and b. So you're basically taking a real mapping. Okay. So here, as you said, you have a differentiable curve. So you're considering x of t to be a differentiable curve. So you have a real mapping a to b, and t is a parameter between a and b. Alright. So now what is x of t? Okay. So you see, t is a parameter, it's an arbitrary variable that moves between a and b. So now such that x of t naught is equal to p. So it kind of mapped back onto p. Okay. So this is the this picture, hopefully this illustration hopefully makes it clear, right? Understand, you have a manifold, and within that you have a neighborhood P, ui. In the neighborhood there is a point P. Okay. Now basically you're taking the point P and mapping it onto a real a real line segment, because you have a closed interval. Okay. You have a real closed interval a and b, and you're mapping this point or this neighborhood onto a and b. Alright. Such that, okay, when you take it back, right, when you say x of t naught, or x of t gives you this neighborhood. Okay, x of t gives you ui or u, and x of t naught gives you p. Alright, so this is what you mean by this differentiable curve x of t naught. Okay, so understand. So this is one intuition that needs to be brought in. Okay, so yeah, we'll come back to this red part in just a little bit. Okay, so there are different mappings of ui from a to b, right? So a to b, mapping this onto a to b such that t naught maps onto b can be done in any number of ways. Okay, so this whole space of whatever transformations or whatever it is mappings is called is defined by x. Okay, so x is the mapping of f of p onto r. So you have p and you have the algebra of this whole thing mapped onto a real interval. Okay, so that is what x of this x is defined as. Okay, so in such a way that it's a differential operation. So it's not something that is linear. It is not something that is just mapping this onto this in a kind of direct algebraic way, or in not algebraic, in a direct point by point. You're not just taking one point and then mapping it onto another point. You're taking a neighborhood, right? Again, right, this is the fun part about differential geometry. So because you cannot go point to point, you always have a differential operator cropping it coming in somewhere. Alright, so now so now if you have x of f, x is an operator here. X of f is the derivative of f of x of t. So you have f, which is one of the function which depends on a parameter x, which further depends on parameter t because you are mapping it here. Okay, and then you differentiate it with respect to t. You differentiate f with respect to t at t naught. Alright, so f of x of t at t naught. Take the differentiation of that with respect to t. Now f is a tangent that is mapped to t naught belongs to r, right? This is basically and x of f is the derivative of along that particular x of t at t naught. T is equal to t naught. A little bit too much of terminologies here. So splitting it into the engaging the visual part of the brain. You can imagine this. So right when you had C1 here, okay, C1 is what? A differentiable curve of rank of class 1. That means it is exactly differentiable one time with respect to, it's exactly differentiable one time. So what does that mean? That means that it's a tangent of some sorts. Okay, what is a tangent? It passes through just a single point, and because it passes through a single point like that, the curve at that point or whatever it is differentiable exactly at that point. Okay, so it's not differentiable anywhere else, so it is differentiable exactly once. Okay, see now again, a lot of abstraction is involved here, so you need to be careful about what x of t actually means. Okay, because if it is a curve, it is a curve that is passing through a point on the manifold, right? It's not directly the mapping itself, that is, it's not directly the the mapping onto R, but this curve is rather mapped onto R. How is this done? Take the example of a sphere. Now draw, so this is a point P on the sphere. Okay, where is this? So this is a point P on the sphere, or let me use pink for this actually. So this is the point P on the sphere. and you draw a tangent on P, right? Um, in case of a sphere, you see that there are really infinitely many tangents that are drawable. Tangents in the sense one line or a curve, right? So because of so how does the tangent, how do the tangent look like? The tangent looks something like this, right? So if you take the top view, or if you take the plane of the tangents, you have you have a family of straight lines, and you can label each of the straight line as x1 of t, x2 of t, x3 of t, and so on. So basically, when you're doing this, when you're picking x of t, okay, such that, okay, so it's really, you don't even so here just follow through this. So here when you have x of t, x1 of t1 and x2 of t2 and x3 of t3, uh, etc., all mapping to P, all like so basically these curves are such a way, these differentiable curves are such that, so x1 of t1, so if you take x1, which is like one particular line, okay, then you have a parameter t1 which uniquely defines this straight line. So now if you take all such straight lines that range from, like, say 90 degrees to again all the 360 degrees, right? If you take the whole family of straight lines, you can map it in such a way that you have t1 here, t2 here, t3 here, t4 here, all the way to B. From A to B, you have several, like, you can divide it into infinite number of points such that you have t1, t2, t3, t4 to t infinity, because there are infinite lines here and each line is mapped onto a point in R. So this is basically what it means, right? Like you have one, you are giving a name to each tangent that you can draw at a point. So now if you take a particular x here, okay, so you define x based on the t naught that you are defining. Okay, so based on the t naught that you define, you also define x. So because if you have a t naught, or say tn is equal to p, x of tn is equal to p, then the curve has to be xn, okay, or the n, like, yeah, that's basically the logic. So xn of t has to be the curve if tn is the mapping to p. All right, so given this, now once you understand this, once you understand how this works, okay, so two very simple properties. One, x is a linear mapping of f of p onto R. F of p is basically the space of okay, so it is like it is kind of the space of these curves that exist, okay, but it's not really a space, because f is so as given here, f is an algebra, so it is a kind of a little abstract here, but basically imagine, so just think of it as so basically you have a linear mapping, that is all that really matters, of some curves f of p, okay, onto R. So, and f of p is really an algebra, because like you can imagine some kind of a like relation between x1 and x2. In this case, it is probably you have a you have a unitary transformation. So where unitary transformation is, you are basically preserving everything, but you are just rotating the angle in this. Okay, so yeah, so basically you have some kind of a group behavior describing this family of curves. okay, by a simple transformation. So instead of having all these infinite this thing, and instead of having to determine t1 t2 and t3 each time, there is a particular algebra in which everything is related. So this whole algebra is mapped onto R. So like I said, this whole algebra, so for example x1 of t, or t1, which is the solution, is mapped onto A, and t infinity is mapped onto B. So each time you move by one, like infinite radian, so you have some kind of transformation or some kind of this thing, where you have d in take this as dz. Okay, so an element of this is dz, dz. Okay, so now you have dz is equal to d theta, or like the rotation times e to the power of I theta or whatever, times something, let's mark it by some symbol, times d theta. Alright, so basically this is what the algebra essentially means, but let's not bother too much about that. Instead, once you have understood this much, like obviously you have the linearity property, where x, because it is the differential this thing operator, because you have a differentiation here, and the differentiation really stems from the fact that I keep repeating it's an open set. It's mapping of open sets and open neighborhoods onto a real this thing, a real space. So basically, because of that, you have a kind of so you have the product rule showing up. So if you take two functions f and g, f dot x of f g is basically x of f and g of times g of p plus f of p times x of g. So basically you move this, you take the leftmost element first, you take the dot product with this first, and then you move in, and then you add, and then you move in. So basically that's how the product rule. Now that is basically the product rule here. So once you have these two things, once you have a linear mapping and also a product rule, that means you naturally define some sort of a vector space. Okay, so this says that, okay, so from R, on R, from A to B, I can draw some vectors at each point. So this is my vector t naught. Okay, I'm sorry, t naught. So if I draw a point here, an arrow towards that point, I can represent x of t naught by that particular vector. So that is basically the so you have a real vector space because you're mapping it onto a real interval, right? So now one more important result here is basically we need to show that the vector space, or the the vector space of P at P is a subspace of n, where n is the dimension of the manifold. So that means that if you have a kind of coordinate system that in your manifold, or in U of the manifold of n dimension, and you can describe the entire, like all the tangents or the space of vectors in with respect to that particular coordinate system. So it has to be a subset of the coordinate system. The intuition here is basically, if you draw a tangent, okay, if you have some sort of as I said here, if you have a sphere and you draw a tangent, like the kind of coordinates that you can draw is basically like around your your say for example this is your x, I mean this is your y, this is your the vertical is the y, the horizontal is the x axis, and the axis that comes out of the center of the sphere is the z axis. Then the family of lines is basically on the yz, I mean xz plane. So xz plane, or if it is of radius 1, at y is equal to 1, like, or at yeah, at the xz plane at y is equal to 1 is basically your like the set of coordinates that kind of describe how your tangent space is. So this is basically what we prove using a more algebraic method. So yeah, but a more formal proof is basically that u1 to un be coordinates of a local neighborhood u of p. Okay, you can see here u of p is given by u1 to un. Now for each j, okay, dou by dou uj is a vector space. Okay, this is the vector space. The way we have defined all this particular mapping is basically the derivative. So you have dou by dou u as a vector space. Now given any curve x of t with p is equal to x of t naught, yeah, which is basically the curve, some differentiable curve, let you so you can assume that you can split down this x of xj of t, I mean x of t, into its particular components, into into n component. Okay, so let assume that you can fit in the components of x of t into u. So I mean that is obvious, right? So you just have some you're just really introducing some random coordinate basis here. So so let u of uj is equal to xj of t. So you have some coordinate system set up. Okay, because see xj of t is really arbitrary, so you can set it equal to uj and it really makes no difference. Okay, yeah, because the way you break down x into the n components is into the tangent space, as we talked earlier about, like if you have a function and you break it down into n components, you're basically dissolving the function into its tangent space, right? So really this tangent space is quite arbitrary here, because our x itself, the t itself, is not defined in the first place. They're not I mean so yeah, it's so basically you can set this up with no big difference. So now yeah, you can see this mapping here. So such that u1 is equal to x1 of t naught and u2 is x2 of t naught. So basically when you have t naught here, and then you have x1, x2 and x3 and so on. Okay, so yeah, that maps onto u1, u2, u3 and so on. Okay, so it is possible that it might be only like only one you know, one ui or uj, one uj might be of some non-trivial value and all the other values be trivial, or there might be some arbitrary number of uj's that are non-trivial, right? So we don't know, we assume that it can be anything. Okay, because as you go on higher dimensions, the kind of tangent bases that you can draw are like pretty complicated. So just assume anything exists. So now we have just written xt in terms of uj. Okay, so that's basically what happened. Then take the differentiation, take x of f, that is basically the derivative of f of x of t with respect to t at t naught. Okay, so yeah, so you're basically taking the tangent space, I mean the vector, you're defining a vector here. Okay, So now this is given by the summation of df. So you apply this chain rule here. So since du is equal to dx, so du of j is equal to dx of j. So you have dou by, you have this summation. So this whole thing is given by basically the differentiation of this with respect to t, and you have this with respect to u, and then u with respect to t. Chain rule, okay? Plus uj equals xj, equality. So now this proves that every vector at p is the linear combination of dou by dou u, because see this derivative of x with respect to t is some number, okay? Now because it is mapped onto the real this thing, so x with respect to t will actually land up in and give you some number. So you have some number which acts as a coefficient here, and then you have your dou f by dou u. So basically you can take dou by dou u, the partial derivative with respect to uj, as the basis, or as the basis of your vector space. So now every vector at p is a linear combination of the basis of the vector space, which is basically the definition of a vector space. So if you have a vector in a vector space, it can be the vector can be written as a linear combination of this, like some of it basis, okay? So now conversely, so what we want to do now is say is assume that you are given a linear combination, say so this chi j is really some arbitrary constant attached to this particular operator, right? So summation of chi j into the partial derivative at p of okay, consider this linear combination of vectors, right? So and then if suppose that uj can be written as uj of p plus some chi j of t. So because again so we proved we saw here that it can be written as a linear combination, as a linear mapping. So basically you have a linear mapping of u and also a linear mapping of t, which covers both variables essentially. So you have a linear mapping of u and you have a linear mapping of t to introduce whatever kind of transformation that you need to bring in this particular with this particular thing. So this is basically just the basis, and this is the extra this thing. So the vector so if you suppose the tangent is that t is equal to 0, then the vector tangent is basically summation of chi dou by dou u j, okay? So because this really goes this goes to 0 because t is equal to 0, and then you have this, right? This ui is nothing but this, okay? So basically that is what we want to prove, right? We want to prove that ui of this is nothing but this. How do we do that? Okay, so proving okay, so now take this basis, which is uj, okay, which is the linear combination of both both u and t. Now take the dot product with respect to this particular basis that you have, okay? So what you get in the end is basically you have some kind of a linear split in terms of chi of dou by dou u j itself, because every other dou u I by dou u j vanishes, okay? So 0, so yeah, so this is basically a little kind of like you need to do a couple of steps here, but basically when you take the differentiation of dou uk with respect to dou ui with respect to ui at p, okay, this whole thing is 0. So thus you say that all your k like all your non-identical indices really vanishes. What does this mean? The dot product with respect to what is the dot product with respect to, say, in the vector space ijk, okay, where I is x and j is y and k is z. So in that space, like if you have I dot j, it is 0, right? So basically this is what you have. You necessarily I mean have, right? So you take the differentiation of some arbitrary basis with respect to another basis, you have a 0 cropping up there, because you can't really have there are two kind of orthogonal component. And here again understand, so this all varies here a little bit from your regular vector calculus, because not vector calculus, regular vector algebra, because you have the derivative. So you have the derivative with respect to ui, and you're taking the basis uk. So basically when you take these two, okay, and you kind of take the dot product, you get a 0. So you get your basis with the dot product of the vector space, you get a 0. So this proves that all bases are, you can have a necessarily orthogonal or an independent basis for every linear for every linear combination of this uh, this vector. So it says that it is you prove that your basis u1 to un is enough and sufficient to set up a complete basis, or a complete space of all the vectors dou by dou this thing dou by dou uj, right? So that means that if you take a single vector, it has to be a subspace of, or if you take a family of vectors, or if you take some sort of a tangent space, which we will come to later, it has to be a subspace of like the n dimensions of the manifold itself. So with this, we have understood what it is to kind of take a vector mapping of a differential using differential curve. And yeah, so the next so given this rudimentary understanding, the next episode will cover tangent bases and some other things in greater detail. So looking forward to see you all next time around too. And any questions and doubts, clarifications, or anywhere you think I went a little off, please let me know in the comments, reach out to me however. Yeah, so thank you, bye.